Hey y'all, it's Joey Richardson. I finally finished watching the Georgia Tech game. There were reasons why I didn't watch it Saturday, and it's partly because I was still sleepy when the game started because it was a 12 p.m. game. And also, I had a lot on my mind as well. Of course, all that's pretty much, most of it's pretty much over and done with. But, you know, no biggie here, as Georgia beats Tech 52-7. Tech never had the lead. Only touchdown was when Georgia was up 17-0, and Blaylock muffed his first punt of this season, which actually didn't cost him his spot like it did Simmons. I think he misjudged it a little bit. It wasn't like it directly dropped. It's not like he had it and dropped it like Simmons did. It's just, yeah, Blaylock. It hit him, and he wasn't able to get a grip on the ball because it had bounced to him. It kind of bounced towards him, I think, and yeah, it happens. But that was it only led to that Tech getting on the ball, which Simmons had an opportunity to get on. But no, Tech gets on it, and that's how Tech gets their only touchdown. Is it actually, they don't run triple option anymore. So one of their tight ends actually caught a touchdown pass not too long after they, get the recovery. It's like maybe a couple plays later or something. But before we get to that, we do want to say Rodrigo, his kickoffs are great when he does want to put it deep. It usually hits the end zone or back of the end zone or out of the end zone where it's not returnable or catchable out of play usually. But yeah, so Tech does get the ball, and of course they have a new offensive scheme. They're no longer running a triple option. They want to they want to get back to where they can recruit elite players. It's probably gonna, Dan Orlovsky, one of the announcers, thinks that Georgia Tech's new head coach will be able to put them back in recruiting competition with Georgia. I don't see it just yet, but maybe it will happen. He's working on getting his recruiting classes a lot better than when Paul Johnson was here. He wants bigger linemen that on the offensive side and all that. So it's definitely a change for sure. But if the results are there a year or two from now, people will be thanking him that are Tech fans. I'm sure they will. But that's like Kirby. He's had a pretty successful tenure, but he didn't have a losing record his first year as head coach, like the current Tech head coach. Of course, they played in the ACC and they got whooped by Clemson. But let's just say Georgia first TD comes off of a Harrion touchdown run, and he had a pretty good day, I think. Well, he had to pick up some slack, but then he didn't have to play as much when the score got up. So he runs for touchdown. Jake Fromm throws for 4 TDs, despite the completion percentage being like 13 for 28, 13 for 29. He had 200 plus yards of passing yards. So he didn't throw an interception again. He doesn't turn over the ball that much. And he did have one good run, but he took sacks, and I think he may have had one rushing yard after the game. If he was in the positives, it was only like 1 yard because he did have one good run, and then he just took sack. The rest of the yardage was sacks. So he never tried to run with a football again. But he threw one to Charlie Warner, which Warner's 1 yard, one catch for 20 yards. It went for a touchdown. So Warner hadn't caught a touchdown all season, was expected to be the tight end that broke out. No, it's been more Eli Wolf that's had the breakout year among the tight ends. But he did catch that touchdown pass. And Rodrigo did hit a 49-yard field goal, but missed a 27-yarder. So Rodrigo's still making the long kicks, just struggling with the short kicks at times. But no, he's been fairly consistent and probably will be a drafted kicker for sure. Yeah, I'm sure that one NFL team will take their chances and pick him in one of the rounds. I just don't see him. I could see him being like second round, but that would be too early to take a kicker personally. Wait till fourth round or something then if you want to take Blankenship. Just advices to anybody who has teams or is a fan of their teams that need kickers. Just be aware. Maybe the Falcons can get them somewhere. I don't know. They don't usually like picking Georgia players. I don't know what that's all about. Don't care. Whatever. They must know Georgia players better than anybody, apparently. I don't know. I just think the Falcons GM sucks balls, and that's kind of how I feel about. He probably needs to get fired along with the head coach. Alright, so enough of that crap. So Georgia Fromm also threw touchdown passes to Pickens, who didn't play until the second half. I think he only caught 2 balls, and one of them was a big touchdown catch. However, Pickens would get into a fight with a Tech player, and he got ejected. Pickens threw a couple punches at the players, and all I can think of is Pickens didn't play the first half for personal team reasons, and he gets ejected when he gets playing time in the second half. And I don't want to say this, but I am anyways. Pickens made himself look like a dog by throwing punches at a Georgia Tech player. Even if he didn't start it, he shouldn't have. He should have kept himself under control, and that's probably going to cost him the first half of the SEC championship game. And we already won't have Cager, who's been hurt most of the season with a bad shoulder and ankle. So that kind of sucks for Georgia. But Pickens needs to mature quickly, and isn't the stereotype is that some 5-star players are dogs? Is that what y'all? Is it just me talking, or is that what some of y'all think that watch this video? And y'all need to forgive me because just because I am talking about a black player, I do tend to like to stereotype them and call them dogs if they do something stupid. That's just me. It's just because I went to high school in a town where a bunch of them live, you know. That's just, and some of them I don't even have on my Facebook. Maybe a lot of them have taken me off since then, because only the decent ones seem to want to be my friend on there. But anyways, other than that, Georgia played well. It's only Georgia Tech. They were only what, 3 or 4 win team. Yeah, Tech didn't have a good year. They obviously weren't going to a bowl game their first year with a new system and a head coach. But Pickens caught a touchdown. Um, who else? Um, gosh, Warner. I will say though that Eli Wolf did catch a 41-yard pass, and he did have a lot of yards after catch. It did set up for a TD, but was it a passing touchdown or was it a running touchdown set up for? I can tell you that one of the other rushing touchdowns were from McIntosh, who's a true freshman who hasn't played much. So yeah, that's one of the touchdowns. Other rushing touchdowns. Who all caught a ball? Oh, Blaylock caught a ball as well. So Pickens, Blaylock, Warner, Pickens, Blaylock, and Tyler Simmons also caught a ball for touchdowns. So those were 4 different receivers. And maybe if Pickens is not playing the first half, which I don't expect to after that ejection, he should maybe try to find guys like Simmons on the outside. Maybe look for a guy like Simmons, maybe Blaylock, if those guys can separate themselves or at least fight for a ball in a tight space. Hopefully Robertson can get going too, but it's going to be tough. I mean, and besides those, by the way, the final TD, that, let's see, the final TD, when it was 45-7, Georgia punts at the Tech. Well, a Tech player muffs the punt, and it goes into end zone, and Tyson Campbell recovers it. So that's how they get the final touchdown. But did I miss any touchdowns? There were a couple rushing touchdowns, I know. 4 passing TDs. And a special teams touchdown. There may have been another rushing TD. Third rushing TD as well. I just can't. I should have looked at stats. I think Zeus White or somebody carried it in. Actually, 4 passing touchdowns. Yeah, that's right. 2 rushing touchdowns and a special teams touchdown. Okay, so that's 7. Okay, that makes sense. So Harrion ran for a touchdown, and McIntosh ran for a touchdown. And yeah, so Tech, the quarterback didn't look too good. The running game didn't look so good. It didn't really look that great at all. Not many receivers caught a ball from Tech. Tech is not ready to compete with Georgia yet, but once the coach recruits better players, maybe they will get more competitive. And the guy that runs the basketball league, I haven't talked to him about how Tech season's ended yet. He may say the coach needs his guys in there, and then we'll see what happens. I hope he hasn't changed his mind about the coach that Tech hired. I'm hoping that he'll be patient with Tech. There are some coaches he didn't like in the past, like Shane Gailey was one of them he didn't like, and some other guy before Gailey also. But there was one he liked that didn't stay long because he took an NFL job. There's plenty of them he's liked. He was okay with Paul Johnson. He just didn't like the travel option. But now that that's over with, he's happy that the offense is going to be more balanced. It just wasn't going to look good against Georgia. That's all I had to say. So previewing the SEC championship game. LSU's Joe Burrow, well, their defense did pretty well against Texas A&M from what I heard, and Joe Burrow once again shining as usual out there. The passing attack of Georgia doesn't look good. The run game at LSU is not ranked very high, but they do have some good backs. Just like Georgia has a good quarterback and a young receiving core that needs to step up. Well, the backs aren't asked to do much for LSU, but it could definitely, the defenses could determine the game, the offenses could determine the game. It's a matter of, can Georgia's defense stop LSU's high offense, and can Georgia have enough offense to beat LSU and get in the playoffs? I sure hope so. But Joe Burrow for LSU, I actually shared a magazine cover he was on, Sports Illustrated. From average Joe to number one pro, it could happen. In parentheses, it could happen is what that was. So, yeah, my cousin's an LSU fan. I don't share my Georgia videos with him. Now, his brother that likes FSU, yes, I share with him. I do. He doesn't care about FSU, and he doesn't keep up football too much because of the struggles of FSU. Now, if they can just find a coach, who knows if he'll continue watching my Georgia videos if I decide to continue these segments next year. I'm gonna go through Georgia. If Georgia doesn't make the playoffs, I will review that bowl game, and that'd probably be it for Georgia football. If I ever decide to go back or not, that'll be up to me. But guys, let's just say LSU versus Georgia. There's some people, Georgia's being doubted, sure, because of their offensive woes. But I'm pretty sure if they can step it up and click, that will be a dangerous Georgia offense to go with the defense. I just hope that Georgia can actually play well enough to stay in the game and not get blown out. I've seen them play LSU when Tyrann Mathieu was there, and they got blown out. But LSU did make the national championship game before there was a playoff. Am I worried about where Georgia goes in the playoffs? Absolutely not. I just don't think. I also think Ohio State being number one is stupid. I know they finally played some teams and beat them, but their schedule overall has been pretty weak, in my opinion. And I really don't care for Ohio State. That's just all I have to say. They're number one, and they're overrated. And they're, hopefully they'll be garbage if they don't win the national championship, which I hope they don't. I can't stand Fields, even though he was at Georgia. He obviously wanted to leave to start, and Ohio State basically handed him the job. And when would they ever have a white quarterback? Never. Looks like it that way. Sorry. Oh, this is what happens when my medicine wears off. Gosh, I say things I shouldn't. But please forgive me for all of this crap I said that wasn't necessary. Love you guys, and go Dogs!